another good way. If you do want to come off of mute and you want to ask a question, you can click raise your hand, and then you'll see this little hand icon appear, and then we'll know to pause and call on you. And then once you're done, you have to click lower hand so that the little hand button goes away. So those are a couple just really simple ways to orient yourself to Zoom. And I will try to share my screen. It'll probably expand and take over your whole screen, so you can exit full screen view. You can just try a few different things to make sure it works for you. But since we're not all in person and we don't have any handouts, we do have a lot of that stuff posted to our website. So I'll go ahead and share my screen so that we can look at the agenda and then get a few motions to approve the minutes, the agenda, that kind of stuff, and get rolling from here. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and try to share my screen. So you should all be able to see the Spenard Community Council homepage. Thumbs up if you can. Or maybe Jay, you might be the only one I can see. Okay. So what I did, I tried to do on our main site is put all of the information. This is usually where we have upcoming meeting event info. So on this main page, this is all our Zoom info. We will also talk more about capital improvement project survey on our agenda today. And speaking of agenda, I have these links right here for meeting handouts and the meeting agenda. So if you wanted to click on them separately or go check out the handouts, you can go ahead and navigate there. But I'm just going to take us directly to our agenda. We check off Zoom happy hour, but we'll be following a similar pattern to our usual meetings where we're calling to order, did our Zoom orientation. We'll have some brief reports where we will turn the floor over to folks. Like I said, we'll talk about capital improvement projects today. We've got some updates about local food opportunities here in Spenard, committee reports for the council, and then towards the end of the meeting, we're going to open it up for community announcements. We usually do that at the beginning of the meeting, but since Zoom could be kind of clunky with unmute, mute, people talking over each other, we're going to do that at the end and close out with some fun. So that's what we have planned right here. The minutes that we're needing to approve today are from our March meeting, the last meeting we had in person, because in April we sent out a video update, which we actually have on that home screen. We've got our video update starring Jay and our assembly members, Andy with the school board, other folks on there. And then we also sent out an email newsletter for April, so we don't have any minutes to approve, but we do have our March minutes, which, if you're not familiar with our website, we have all of our meeting documents right here with the current agenda, the current minutes, and then our archives have all past minutes and agendas. So I'm hoping folks were able to take a look at this ahead of time. And if someone would be willing to make a motion to move the agenda.
I move to approve.
Perfect.
Second.
Okay. All right, any discussion or questions? Great. There it is. All right, so we've approved our consent agenda, the minutes, and the agenda for this meeting. And I'm going to unshare my screen so that I can see everybody and introduce our executive committee and any guests, and then we'll turn it over for brief reports. So I think the easiest way for executive committee members is to maybe wave. And if you wanted to, you could rename yourself and include it in your name title. But we've got, and I'm just going to go based on my blocks, but we've got Jay Stange, our president emeritus, or whatever it's called exactly. We've got Julie, who serves as an auditor for our executive committee. We've got Meg, our secretary, taking notes, taking attendance for our current meeting. Thank you, thank you. We've got Peggy, who also serves as an auditor for our council. Irene, our vice president, and Kat Citrus. Yes. And then let's see who else. We've got Arena, our treasurer. He'll give our treasurer's report later. And Tani also serves as our auditor. Auditor? Yeah, auditor. Great. So that is our executive board. And then I'm going to start with our brief reports. We're going to start with the assembly, and Austin couldn't be here. And we have Judy Jessen, and Cameron, I don't think has joined yet. So I'm going to turn it over to Judy to just share a report. I just got an email update with the handout, and I'll post that to our website. It's not currently posted, but Judy, if you want, it looks like you're off mute, and if you want to take it away, you've got 5 minutes.
Okay, I don't know if I can fill 5 minutes, but I did. Great. I did want to let you know that Cameron extends his apologies. He had a conflict come up and isn't able to make it. The good news is that I work for Cameron also, so I'm now your one-stop shop for connection to both of your assembly members, which is really convenient for them and hopefully for the district also. We did finalize a community council newsletter. It covers this month some updates related to COVID-19 and actions the Assembly has taken, a synopsis of actions that have been taken, that were taken at the Assembly meeting on April 28th, and also some upcoming items of interest. I just sent that around 6:30, 6:45 to all of the community council presidents, but that's probably the best place to go for any direct updates that you want a lot of detail on. So I would like to use this time to just track any questions that anybody has so that I can forward them to the right member and get a response to you as quickly as possible.
Great. So if anyone wants to type in a question to the chat, you can. And if you want to either raise your hand, we can go orderly, but it doesn't sound like there's tons of people trying to speak over each other. So if you wanted to come off mute, you could ask a question for the assembly. No. All right. Well, we know there is a lot going on. We are in wild times right now, and so we appreciate all the work the assembly is doing. And like I said, I'll post the update that Judy just mentioned to our website, and we'll send it out after.
Sure. I did pull up the newsletter, and I can give a quick highlight reel. The most exciting things going on are that first quarter budget revisions happened that trues up any gaps from the planned budget to the actual expenses. The mill rate was set, so if you were waiting to figure out how much you'd be paying in property taxes, you should have that information pretty soon. The Assembly approved a contract with United Way to administer the Home for Good contract, which is dedicating a lot of resources to getting people permanently housed who are experiencing homelessness. Anchorage is at 53% for the census, so if you haven't done your census, you can do that at 2020census.gov. They made a bunch of changes to the way that the Assembly meeting agenda is set up. Notably, there's a second public participation period added to the beginning of the meeting if you'd like to comment on something that's not on the agenda. They also added a native land acknowledgement at the beginning of every meeting alongside the Pledge of Allegiance, and they made a couple of other changes that are outlined in that bulletin for clarity. They did approve an ordinance that designated a few more deteriorated properties owned by Peach Investments, who owns the 4th Avenue Theater. That's the first process to get an investor eligible for some kind of tax incentives, although the approval of the tax incentives is a separate process. So for people who are concerned about Peach Investments and their tax incentives related to deteriorating properties, it's a good time to clue in on that. There was more funding requested for COVID response. There is an ordinance being put out by a couple of the members to do away with the bag fee for paper bags at the store once the bag ban sort of returns to normal. and they're looking to make some changes to emergency authority. It would give a line of succession if there was an emergency and the mayor was not able to be reached or was otherwise indisposed. They looked at extending the emergency declaration, and currently that emergency declaration is good through June 5th. On June 2nd, the Assembly is going to be deciding whether or not to keep pushing that out. And Assembly members Weddleton and LaFrance have put forward a resolution that they intend to put out every regular Assembly meeting until the end of the emergency declaration. That resolution would allow the Assembly to end or extend the emergency declaration and give the Assembly the ability to remove or delete any of the emergency orders that the mayor has put out. It's a very comprehensive update that should hit. If you were concerned about the land swap at Tozier Track, that's been worked out so that there will not be disruption to the trails. And I'm trying to think about other things that people have emailed about. If you're concerned about the opening of the O'Malley ice rink, it is being looked at. The best place to reach out to influence that process is actually the mayor's team. And I'll put that contact information in the chat.
Perfect. Thanks, Judy. And like I said, I'll post that to
Sure.
our website and I'll show folks very soon how to get to it. But I'll turn it over
Great.
to Andy with the school board. Andy, are you watching Matt Sue, or can you plug back in and unmute? There you go.
I'm right here. I am watching the Matt Sue School Board, which has done a marvelous job of citizen engagement that I hope we don't follow them up on. I thought I'd give like a really quick overview of where the school district got to, how we got to where we are. You know, in the week prior to spring break was when we started to be concerned. We canceled international travel, and then we canceled in-country travel. That was controversial for about 4 or 5 days, I think, and it went away. And then before spring break was over, we began to get the initial, we're going to be at least 1 week late coming back, and then it was going to be several weeks late coming back, and then eventually we're not coming back this year. So there's some confusion, I think, by parents and staff in that this has been a changing target. The first target was, well, let's just get through a week and see what happens. And then it's like, well, let's try to cover some ground while we're out so that we're not far when we come back. And now we're really in a multifaceted approach. Some of this has to do with testing for next year, because this could happen during the next school year as well. We want to do better if it does. We went through a process of distributing technology to everybody that didn't have the technology at home to connect, and working to get kids connected. We then transitioned into getting everybody's possessions back. And it's fairly complex in that we had trained teams to keep people separate, to do it in a very safe way, to keep things cleaned over and over again as the day progressed. And those teams moved around to different buildings. So none of this happened as quickly as anyone would like. But all the time, it was very much to try to do it in a safe way where no one would get sick. We have had a couple of staff members turn up sick, and that disrupted things in particular buildings. But that's kind of where we're at. We're trying to finish the school year. We're trying to do something for seniors to commemorate the end of the year, because there normally are a lot of activities that mean a lot to them that just aren't going to happen. And we're already looking at under what kind of conditions we would be back in school buildings in the fall, and what that might look like if the pandemic is ongoing. It could include shifts of half our kids being in school in the morning and half in the afternoon, or any number of possibilities. Nobody really knows at this time. So that's overall what we've been doing. I don't think there's anything else the parents aren't being informed of. If anyone has questions. Seeing no hands, I will say that we shift every year in which community councils we cover, and Star Marset will be attending your meetings. I'm shifting over towards Bartlett in that area. I'll miss you guys. You are by far the most interesting and consistently well-attended community council that I've run across. I've never gotten out to Eagle River or anything. So if Star doesn't show up, let me know and I'll come back. But we do have a different group coming up. I wish you guys well going forward.
That sounds good. Thanks, Andy. It looks like Harriet has her hand up and maybe a question to ask.
I do. Thank you. Andy, congratulations on the school bonds passing with, what was it, nearly 60% of the vote. That's terrific. I'd love to hear an update on the facilities projects that you're going to kick off this summer. You know, I'm sure that's going to be impacted by the situation we're in with the pandemic. But can you tell us about that? Because that was what, almost was $80 million worth of projects that were approved, and quite a bit of that was for earthquake repairs, which I'm sure are ongoing. And you know, now that kids are not in school, it's pretty easy to work on those buildings.
Right. It has changed the schedule around, and so I don't have the latest updates. And I do want to say thank you to the community for doing that. You know, when people are nervous or unsure about the future, bonds usually don't do well. I was surprised at the margin. I think about 56%, which is obviously not unanimous, but it's a pretty healthy margin. I know that they've reclassified things based on how critical they are. Obviously, we didn't have kids in buildings we thought were unsafe, but some of them did have damage where they could still be used. I know that they have reprioritized the work that can be done while students are not in the building, and tried to start some of those projects earlier than we normally start. We don't have to wait for the end of school. Of course, it's complicated by the fact that contractors have their own issues in terms of staffing up. So in some cases, we're probably ready for work to be done, but contractors may not be able to do it either for lack of staff or for lack of being able to do it in a way that socially distances and everything. So I can't go into too many details on it other than to say everything we had planned has been rearranged. But they are looking at all of that, trying to move as quickly as we can without spending any extra money on things. And there is a real question about where we'll be in the fall, but they're looking at that as well. So it could change across the course of the summer. So I would have to say we'll probably have an update at the next school board meeting, and that update will probably be prepared the day of, and I'm sure there'll be changes as we move along with that.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks, Andy. Thanks for being our liaison for the last year for the school board. I think you have been one of the most attending school board members, so we will let you know if we're.
Okay. Yeah, thank you much. You folks have a great evening.
Real hand up though.
Yeah, Lindsay. Thank you, Andy. I'm sorry. I needed to just let you know, Lindsay, that there was a question that we kind of missed, going back to the Peach investment distressed properties. It's a question for Judy, I believe. So if Judy's still on, and it's okay with you, Lindsay, there was a question from Peggy and Bob regarding.
I just saw that in the chat, and I was going to turn it over to Judy and also ask Harriet to lower your hand since you're done. But Judy, are you still on, plugged in?
I am still on.
Peggy, do you want to go ahead and ask your question for Judy?
Yeah, I was a little surprised about the Peach investment. It's Jay certainly knows about this because I remember you were protesting in front of the 4th Avenue Theater. I kind of feel like it came out of nowhere, and you know, as Andy said, money is really tight right now, and you know, I don't know if everybody remembers this, but the Spenard Community Council, Tom certainly remembers this, that we fought that hotel for years and years and years until it was taken out of our community council. But even after that, we were trying to get that Midtown Hotel, which is also part of the Peach investment. And, you know, they haven't been good stewards of the properties they've had. I mean, look what they've done to the 4th Avenue. My concern is that we're rewarding bad behavior. you know, I don't know if this was in the discussion that the assembly had, but I certainly would like to know their rationale for doing this at this time. Thank you.
So this stewardship of the properties was part of the discussion for the assembly. Many people share the same concern that you do. It's important to point out that no tax relief has been extended to these new properties that were recently declared deteriorated. And determining whether or not those properties will get tax relief is a separate process. To engage in the process of discussing whether they should receive tax incentives, they have to first declare it a deteriorated property. So all that's happened so far is that the properties listed in the newsletter that you'll receive were declared deteriorated. The decision about whether to extend tax relief to those properties hasn't happened yet. So that'll be a process to track. And I can get more information for you about how to track that process because I don't know off the top of my head.
I would
Is
like
that helpful?
It would. It is a concern, like I said, that, I mean, I think that everybody would be concerned about how I know there's been a lot of controversies about the tax, I don't know what you call it. It's not a holiday, but what they did with the properties down in the railroad, that was railroad land that's on long-term lease, that's high-end condos that were given some tax relief. And, you know, I have seen letters to the editor and such where people feel cheated and understandably so when they're seeing the wealthiest people get tax breaks. I think it makes people pretty upset.
Yeah, that's a concern that a lot of people share. And so I will find out how you can track that process. And I just want to reiterate, because I know that this is an issue that's concerning to a lot of people, is that there has been no new tax incentives offered to Peach Investment so far. This is just the first step in opening up that conversation.
Well, thank you. And if you could get that information to us, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And Peggy, are you familiar with Zoom?
Well, I've had a few meetings, all thanks to the Spenard Community Council.
If you can, I'm trying to figure out the best way to get your contact information without sharing it publicly. So I'm going to put my email in the chat, and if you can email, and I'll put my cell phone. So if you can email me or give me a call to share your contact information with me, I would really appreciate that. That way I can get back to you.
All right, thank you.
Perfect. Great. And I'll turn it over. It looks like we've got John Johansson on from the airport. And I do have the update handout for the airport. And so I'll share my screen, John, if you'd like to go ahead and talk about the updates, and I'll share so folks can also follow along.
Okay, good evening. I'm not going to speak too much to the update except for a couple things. And this is all old news for the most part, but we have posted on our website and our summary of our 2020 airport construction projects. Most of them are airfield projects, so I'm not even going to discuss those, but we do have one project that's now just getting underway where we're going to resurface, mill and pave Postmark Drive from International Airport Road up to the North Terminal. So that's just an ongoing pavement improvement project that we're trying to do every year on roads around the airport. Nothing else of note, but if you're interested, you can go to our website and there's a posting there of our airport summer construction projects, a summary of that. Everything else is kind of old news, but I did kind of want to share a few things on what's going on at the airport related to the coronavirus. Our air traffic, as you all know, I'm sure, is way down. On the passenger side, we have about 10% of the normal passenger traffic that we would have at this time of year right now, and it's been that for a month or more. So the terminals are somewhat deserted. All of the concessions with the exception of a very few, are shut down. We still have McDonald's, and we have, for some reason or other, Silver Gulch is still hanging in there, and we have Hudson News and Gifts open one or two of their shops periodically throughout the day. But the other kind of interesting thing is as you may have heard, Anchorage Airport was the busiest airport in the world, I think last weekend and the weekend before, and it's all associated with cargo. Our passenger traffic is way down, as is every airport in the country and in the world. But our cargo traffic has actually gone up about 25%. And the reason for that, although cargo volumes, trans-Pacific cargo volumes have gone down, because normally about 50% of the cargo travels in the belly of passenger aircraft, and there are hardly any passenger aircraft flying. Most all of the cargo is now going by all freighter aircraft, which about 80% of those go on Trans-Pacific stop in Anchorage. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic where we're seeing a significant increase in the air cargo volumes at the airport. And, of course, once passenger traffic returns, international Trans-Pacific passenger traffic returns, those numbers will most likely drop back down to something more normal. Anyway, that's all I have. If you have any questions for me or comments, I'd be happy to entertain them.
Great. I'm not seeing any hands raised or anything in the chat. Oh, wait, anything in the chat. It looks like Tyler did write in the chat. Thanks, John, for the update. Very interesting to understand the impacts. Can't wait to jump on a plane in the future someday.
That's okay. Okay, with that, I'll just say that Irene's cat Citrus is a beautiful young man.
Perfect. Great. Well, thanks, John.
Thank you.
All right, moving along. You can all see my screen still, so you can see our next topic is the capital improvement projects. Every May, we cover the capital improvement project survey for Spenard, and this is something that every community council does. They share priorities for roads, parks, trails, for the city to consider, so that they can be raised higher up on the list and be more priority when it comes to funding, bonding, making them happen. So the last few years we've had Jay really helpfully walk us through this, and we were thinking we might be able to do a sort of live survey on Zoom, but once we started to really dig into our long lists of survey priority areas, we thought we would instead have a survey so that you all could go ahead and fill them out, and we could follow up on this after the meeting. So a little bit more about what the projects are, and they're listed right here on our main website. The capital improvement projects, or CIP for short, and then we've created this survey that we're asking folks to complete by May 15th so that we can compile all of your responses, and then by the end of the month submit our priorities to the city. And I've already opened a few windows so that I could go over in a little bit more detail what they are. So if you click on the Muni CIP website link to get more information, it'll take you to this landing page where it talks about the community council surveys for every community council over time. And Spenard is also listed on here. So you can kind of see where different priorities land throughout the years. But for Spenard, so we go all the way back to 2014. And our priorities, including the 2020 ones, are also listed on there. If you click on that 2020 list, you'll be able to see what we all voted on last year. And we did this at our council meeting with paper, and we talked about which ones we thought would be most important to prioritize and which ones we thought maybe just were still important but less of an immediate need. So the way that we kind of think about them is it starts with just who manages the land or the road or the property. So project management and engineering properties, State of Alaska, roadways, and then parks and recreation for parks and trails. So if we're just looking at this first one, project management and engineering, those are our roadways that the municipality of Anchorage maintains and runs, and our council prioritized Chugach Way as our #1 priority from Arctic to Spenard Road. Chugach Way upgrade, it still hasn't happened, and so this could potentially be a priority of ours going forward and stay up here on the list. And you'll see many common themes that we've had: Lois Drive, a pathway from Benson to 32nd, and then the next one, Lois Drive, upgrade for the road itself from Northern Lights to 36th. So they're all listed on here. There are different kinds of descriptions and different priority areas. And there are quite a few, so I'm not going to go through them one by one, because I do hope that you take our survey once we're through here. But we have a lot of different projects that are municipality road projects. And then we have State of Alaska projects, and we have 3 of those: Spenard Road Rehab, Minnesota Boulevard, Fireweed Lane, and then Parks and Recreation, recycling and garbage bins, different park improvements like Wilson Street Park, Woodland Park, and on and on. So we have quite a few different projects that our council has already prioritized, and we put them into a survey so that we could get your feedback and compile them and make adjustments so that we can submit these to the municipality by the end of this month. So we just ask you to share your information so that we know that you live here in Spenard. And then it has those same projects listed, and we're just asking you to help us prioritize them. And then we'll be able to do a big data dive and make sure that our priorities going forward align with what we have listed here. So it's a survey that shouldn't take more than 5-10 minutes, but if you're going back in and doing the deep dive to really look at what all those individual projects are, all of those links are included on our main page for, and it should say 2021 because it's already 2020, the Muni's website, and then our survey link. So we'll be sharing these out to our email list, and we'll post this on our Facebook page. But we do hope that folks, you just take a few moments, since we can't all do it in person right now on paper, and take the online survey so that we can make sure that your projects are included. And if something is not already listed that you do want, we do have a comment box at the very end where you could let us know what project hasn't been listed, hadn't been considered, and it's something that we can add to our list so that we can continue to move it on for sure. And with that, I wanted to see if Jay or anyone else on our executive board or folks who are familiar with the CIP, if anybody has any questions or anything to share for the group. And I'm seeing a question from Harriet in the chat. The CIP survey is only for Spenard Community Council residents. It is, because this is our, we as a community council will submit this to the municipality. So we want to have our council members fill out this particular survey because it's only about Spenard projects. Any other questions?
Yeah. Hi, Lindsay. It's Jay.
Yeah.
Hi. I just had a quick comment.
Yes.
If you click through, excuse me, I'll start my video. If you do happen to click through the Muni's listing of projects, you'll notice that Minnesota Boulevard is mentioned. And there are a couple of different proposals right now for Minnesota Boulevard that are included in the AMATs, which is the state, city, and federal entity that manages transportation funding for Anchorage. AMATs has identified Minnesota Boulevard in two different ways. One way is that they've responded to our community by considering a $1 million study to look at calming Minnesota Boulevard between International and Hillcrest, to look at potentially slowing traffic speeds, creating better pedestrian crossings. It's called a multi-way boulevard. And so a multi-way boulevard study is one of the things that's being considered right now in the short-term AMATS project list. There is another project which is being considered, which is to widen Minnesota Boulevard and to increase turn lanes going from northbound Minnesota traffic, like as you're heading downtown, to have two permanent turn lanes going left onto Northern Lights Boulevard. And so that widening and sort of increase in volume on Minnesota Boulevard is one project they're considering, and another one is the Minnesota Boulevard sort of traffic calming proposal. And so when you're looking through the survey, our references for the multi-way boulevard project, the $1 million study, and we're supporting, that's the proposal to support that. But if you'd like Minnesota to be bigger and wider and faster and have more volume, then you can add that onto the list. Just wanted to clarify the choices with Minnesota.
Great, thanks. I think I'll move us on. We're a little bit behind time because I thought people wouldn't want to be on a Zoom for an hour and a half. We condensed to an hour. So we'll move on to the next topic around local foods, and wanted to share an update about the Spenard Community Garden, and I'd love to turn it over to Julie. Where are you, Julie?
I'll be brief on this one. So the Spenard Garden started back up, or ramped back up, April 30th, and they'll run through September 10th from 4 to 7 at the Lutheran Social Services building on 30. Gosh, I can't remember. It's right behind Charlou. 33rd.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll be ramping up. So they went last week, and so they're limiting it to 3 to 4 people for the foreseeable future, just to kind of see what happens with the virus. And then they're recommending gloves and mats be worn. And the garden's it's a pretty large enough site that people have some spacing between them. So they last Thursday consisted of just cleaning up the site. So they'll meet again tomorrow, 3 to 4 people will meet again tomorrow from 4 to 7. And the plan is to bring wood chips from Michelle Wilbur's house over to the garden to shore up the path a little bit there, and then also do some more cleanup. They've also been working with Nick, who runs the Lutheran Services, has contacted Spring Creek Farm with APU in Palmer, and they've ordered quite a bit of seedlings from them, and also some seedlings from the seedlings from Seeds of Change will most likely be donated. The ones from Spring Creek Farm will be 25% of what the cost is. And I see some chats in there somewhere. Is anybody talking to me? Michelle didn't know that. That's what I was told, that they were coming to your place tomorrow. So, anyway, and if anybody wants to participate, there is a number for Nick to call to be one of those 2 to 3 people. And I will post that number here. So, and then if anybody wants to go in the off times, any other time, you're welcome to go by there and clean up, water, whatever. The garden's open to everyone. So it's really kind of a cool thing. And during the times that the Lutheran Services Center is open, they're asking that you park across the street or just down the street, because the parking lot will be dedicated to people coming to the services there. And that's all I have on that right now.
Perfect. Thanks. And Jay has another update to share about Anchor Gardens.
Yeah, thank you, Lindsay. In case you haven't seen a posting on Facebook or in other places, there is an organization right now that's emerging in Anchorage called Anchor Gardens, and it's a loosely affiliated organization of folks in the gardening world who are modeling a program on the World War II Victory Gardens effort, which was an effort to create, food network resiliency, so that people would have opportunities for locally grown food in the face of shortages due to wartime. And so in the face of the current COVID-19 pandemic, there is a goal that's been set out by the Anchor Garden organizing group to create potentially 5 new gardens in every community council area. Michelle Wilbur, who you see down here and to the left on my screen anyway, has been doing this very same thing for the last couple of years in Spenard by participating in various initiatives with the Articopia and her own personal property on West 30th. And Michelle and I have both been identified as coaches for the Spenard area, which just means that we're going to try and be hubs to help people who want to create a new garden space either in their yard or in a public space they've identified to increase food resiliency and the network of supply here in Anchorage. And so if you would like to know more about it, you can contact Michelle Wilbur, you can contact me. On Facebook, you can just search Anchor Gardens, and there's an umbrella organization that's Anchor Gardens for the entire city. And then you can also go to your community council area and find Anchor Gardens Spenard. One of the things that I'm advocating for is to organize the Anchor Gardens Spenard group into smaller areas. So right now, community council areas in Anchorage, even though they may not include a huge number of people, they can sometimes include areas as big as 100 square miles, and it's hard to share gardening resources and expertise in a pandemic with 100 square miles of property. So I've been asking people to try and identify micro neighborhoods that they're in. So just as an example, I call my neighborhood, which is between McCrae Road and Fish Creek and the railroad tracks and Northern Lights Boulevard, I call that Deep Spenard. And I'm trying to connect with people in my neighborhood to help support the creation of compost piles in their backyards, trying to share starts that I have, trying to, provide guidance to people who are new to gardening and resources to people who would like to increase their capacity. So Anchor Gardens is an umbrella organization. It's just a communication network right now. We're trying to build a bunch of new gardens in Anchorage to respond to the pandemic. And I think it's a good idea here in Alaska, where a big bulk of our food comes on barges from the lower 48. And it's really easy to interrupt that food supply. And I'm going to yield the rest of my time to Michelle, who I see is here. Michelle, can you add more intelligent commentary about what the goal would be and how you'd like to be involved in your part of Spenard?
Wow, I am underprepared because I really haven't been doing my part. Cindy Carnes has been a big organizer for this, but because I don't go on Facebook now that my job doesn't require it, I pretty much miss everything. So I'm available. I'm in, gosh, I don't know what you call it. I'm on the Dirty 30 near where the palm tree used to be, and I have some garden space. And then I'm actually currently residing in the Windermere neighborhood, which is like fake Spenard. It's in the community council boundaries, but it's not part of the corridor project. So it's kind of a Suburbiaville in a traditional way. So I'm happy to help out anybody that needs advice in either of those areas. or if they need help coordinating, if they have extra something or need something, I'm happy to be a resource. I put my my email address and my phone number in the chat, and so please feel free to reach out to me that way. I will probably miss anything that happens on Facebook, but I'm happy to help in any way. And I know Nick with the Articopia does a lot of good trainings, and a lot of people do trainings, but I'm happy to do Zoom chats or trainings as well anytime with individuals or groups of people.
Great, thanks everybody. It's so sunny. It's definitely almost summertime, garden time. It's great to hear all the updates on that. And we have an important committee update from Arena and our audit team for the Spenard Community Council audit that we do once a year. So now is the time for the report out there. Hey, Arena.
Hello, everyone. So apologies for kind of doing this audit report late in the year. Next year we'll try to speed it up. But so the audit committee, Tani and Julie, with the help of Peggy, went through all of our finances last year. We made more purchases than we normally do. And by that, I mean, we spent some money last year. So some things that we spent money on last year were we donated candy to Trick or Treat Fish Creek. We bought 2 laptops for sign-in purposes, which we're not using right now, clearly, but they've proven to be pretty helpful in the past year. And then we also made a donation to Aquarian Charter School, to their PTA for letting us use their facilities. And then we also we pledged an amount for the challenge grant for the Spenard Beach Park in the amount of $2,000. So that hasn't been physically reflected in our finances, but we've kind of put that money away for that. And then we also made a loan for $3,000 to the Spenard Farmers Market for various purchases that they needed. So as of the end of the period that we were looking at, our balance in our accounts was in our bank account was $24,866.03. We also have $300 in gas cards. That's 6 gas cards, which we'll hopefully be able to give out once we reconvene in real life. And then we have $65 in petty cash right now that we just have chilling. I don't know actually if Tani and Julie want to add anything to that as well.
I guess the only thing I would add is that we, as a part of the audit, we requested an update from Mark and the Spenard Farmers Market to just have proof of purchase for the items that they had said they were going to use the money for. And so we did receive that via email from Mark this weekend. So if anybody, has a request to audit the audit, that I just wanted to put that out there. So in terms of the repayment, we're going into the first year. We've just completed, I believe, the first year on the loan, and the term was for 3 years. So obviously, over the next year or so, as we have updates on that, we will provide that to the council.
Great, thank you all. Thanks for meeting, and I want to say a special shout out to Arena for all of the First National Bank of Alaska challenges we've had in this process, and we'll continue to have.
Still having, yeah. Hopefully we'll be able to get those resolved when the world
online access is a challenging thing, turns out, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I just really quickly wanted to follow up with everybody about the Spenard Corridor Plan and let you all know that we did submit our comments to the planning department. So we've had this on our agenda for since March, when we had Joni Wilm, who works with AMATS, present at our council, and then we intended to have her back in April but because we didn't meet in person, we had a work group come together, talk about the Spenard Corridor Plan. And I just want to point out that all of this information is on our website if you want to dig in a little bit deeper. The Spenard Corridor Plan website it's hard to find unless you have the direct link, but it does have the current plan that they have posted. And it's something that we as a council have talked about for years and years. So I don't want to go too deeply into it, but I just wanted to let you all know that we did submit our comments, and you can go ahead and take a look at them. Overall, we really support having this plan, and we have our comments saved in other Spenard Community Council comments or documents, and they're right here at the top. So we had submitted a comment earlier, earlier in July on the most recent plan, and then the ones we just submitted were for April 27th. So if you want to go ahead and click on that, you can see where the Community Council came together as a work group to support this plan, because it really is something that we can, I clicked on the wrong one. The one that we just submitted is right here. It is something that we really are excited about. This is a community plan for us because we don't have a specific one that our council has led. So it talks about our vision for Spenard, what we want to see as a community, and where we want it to go. So you can go ahead and dig into it more deeply. It's not done yet. It'll go to the planning department, and we will be working with our assembly members to also advocate for this to be adopted by the assembly, and we'll continue to go from there. So we had quite a few folks who are in our meeting tonight that participated in the work group and putting these comments together. So I want to just turn it over to folks, and if you have anything you wanted to point out or share about this process. It was one of our Zoom work group sessions. We're getting pretty good at Zoom for Spenard. Great, thanks for that comment, Tyler. They are substantial comments, and our comments from July of last year, we really saw reflected in the document that we were just commenting on this past month, because we're just refining the document finally. So we have seen a lot of our hopes and dreams incorporated and implemented into this document. Great, and with that, Jay.
Yeah, Lindsay, I just wanted to add a quick note. I think that the next event for Spenard Corridor Plan is going to be a review by the Planning and Zoning Commission at their May 18th meeting. I believe that's correct. So we have a person online tonight who is a Planning and Zoning Commissioner. Radhika is here tonight, and if anybody's interested in going to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to add comments or advocate for the Spenard Corridor Plan, May 18th at the Planning and Zoning Commission, which holds its meetings at the Lusac Library meeting room, assembly meeting chambers. I'm looking forward to that.
Virtual meeting, so there's a process to get on the comment board, but we'll share that. Great, and with that, we have our Spenard Cannabis Committee listed on our committee updates because we don't want to forget that we have one, but the Cannabis Committee hasn't met over this past month, but we wanted to add it on here to just share some of the changes with the businesses due to COVID. And I wanted to see, I didn't ask Tani before, but Tani, do you want to share what those changes are? Otherwise, we'll just go ahead and move on to announcements.
So I can say that some of the changes were made in part to bring the muni in compliance or in alignment with the state codes. And under the emergency order in COVID, both the alcohol board and the marijuana commission, both of them changed, or the marijuana board, they both allowed curbside service essentially, which is something that was not done before, not like delivery to your curb at your door, but at your house, but so that an employee could walk out and hand purchased items to a customer with valid ID. And as far as I understand, that's temporary, and it's just during the emergency order time. The reason for that was that they wanted to try to continue to encourage social distancing in the stores, and I think there were concerns about their sales going down with the quarantine and things like that. So and they just had their meeting in April, so the next meeting is in June, I believe, if my calculations are correct. The other thing that is relevant to the Spenard area is that Top Shelf Herbs, which is opening at 901 Photo Avenue, which is off Northern Lights, kind of by the art supply store, has been approved. They had some delays because of some different issues, but the Marijuana Control Board approved it, and then at the 2 assembly meetings ago, the assembly approved it as well. So I'm not sure when they're opening or if they're open, but that's happening. And then as far as I know, Canabasca, the owners of Canabasca are still looking in the future to get approved to open a store where, is it next to the Sparrow Liquor store where the flower shop used to be? So they have there's something going in there. So a lot of changes. It requires a lot of people to keep their eyes out. Unfortunately, because of COVID, I haven't really been able to follow up on a lot of these things. So if anybody else is able to follow up on things, I'm happy to communicate those. We can share conversations. But I do think the one thing that's coming up, Lindsay, and Jay might know this as well, is that the alcohol licenses the cannabis licenses are all going to be renewed, because cannabis is different. They are renewed once a year or twice a year. I don't know. Judy, you might know too, because it's a municipal thing. And that's coming up soon. And we can look at them and decide if we want to have a comment or if there are any issues. So I know alcohol permits are different because they're rolling, but cannabis permits are not. So.
Good, thank you. Awesome. Well, we're at 8, but this is the fun part for community announcements, so we're going to go a little bit longer. And I'm going to, I think, turn it over first to Tyler, because he and his daughter is being very patient. But I know that you want to share your screen to share an update from Cook Inlet Housing, so I just wanted to start with you, and then we can open it up to popcorn out announcements.
Thank you, Lindsay. You guys hear us? This is me and Sylvie. Nice to see some familiar faces that I don't normally spend time staring at computer screens about. So I would just say that we're going to come back. Cook Inlet Housing is going to come back in June with a much more, like a bigger and more complicated project. It's actually part of a formal process. And I would love, everybody's participation and then some at that June meeting to keep us rolling, and that's for our holdings at the southeast corner of Spenard and 36th. A much bigger project, much more complicated to develop. But what I wanted to just give everybody an update on is a piece of property that we've had behind the Carousel Lounge and behind Lutheran Social Services. So if you can see my screen right here, I kind of made a little square for it. It's the equivalent of like 3 standard Spenard and Anchorage lots, so it's about a half an acre. And we are moving forward with a 20-unit apartment building, hopefully to break ground in June this year. So I wanted to make sure people knew, if they saw things, that this is what was happening. We're in for permits right now. We're getting under contract. So this is a project that's going to happen. It's a project or a site originally owned by NeighborWorks and eventually went to CHA, Cook Inlet Housing. So real quick, it is, here's 32nd Avenue. It's pretty simple. The project is accessed from 32nd Avenue. So basically you have a driveway that comes in from 32nd, and we decided to site the building towards the north of the parcel and put the parking behind it, which is generally consistent with what the municipality wants for design guidelines of multifamily housing. So to create kind of a nice frontage along the road, tuck the parking behind the building. And that's what's happened here. You have one driveway. You also have a dumpster down tucked in as well. So the dumpster is not up on the road. We force the operator to come onto our lot, pick it up and back out, which isn't something they always want to do, but in this case they have agreed to. This is not a pretty rendering, so I would just say that, like, without going into details, it's also a landscape lot, so you can see the footprint of the building and there will be landscaping around it. We haven't done a super pretty rendering that shows what those trees and shrubs are that are both required on the property line, and also add, you know, kind of a nice foundation plantings to the building. And then effectively what you see is a 3-story building. I know it's not all blue skies and green grass and Spenard, but that's how we're thinking about this thing. 20 units of studios, 1-bedrooms, and some 2-bedroom apartments. There's a door that faces 32nd, so if people want to come out and walk to a bus stop on Spenard, they can do that. If they decide that they're still driving cars and so forth, then on the back side of the building, there's also an entry and they can park out back and get into the building there. So it's our sort of typical product that is affordable housing to a range of people's income levels. Again, smaller units. We hope to have some larger units when we do our kind of larger project east of Spenard and 36th intersection. But this is, for lack of a better term, right now we're calling it West 32nd Avenue Apartments. You can see on the south side of the parking some solar panels and things like that. But, you know, with that, I think I don't want to take up a bunch of time, but if people want to ask me questions, they're more than welcome to, or through Lindsay or Jay, they can always kind of go through, and I'm happy to either get on the phone with somebody or answer emails on what this is. But generally speaking, we think we're going to start building in June and be about a 12-month construction schedule, so that at this time next year, we would be leasing up 20 apartment homes on a, you know, previously vacant lot in Spenard behind the Carousel Lounge.
Great, thanks, Tyler.
Now, how do I get, I want to stop sharing. Can you, oh, here we go. All right.
Top of the screen, yep, you got it. And Jay, of course, says it's always sunny in Spenard.
Always.
Always, especially today, right now. Thanks for that, Tyler. We will have Tyler back next month, probably on Zoom, so we can talk more about the other property. Great, and with that, do folks have other announcements to share? I know Irene has some announcements she wants to share, so maybe I'll turn it over to her, and if others have any, you can raise your hand by clicking on the raise your hand button.
Yes, I was just going to share a little bit about the Citywide Clean Up, one of my favorite things. I called, or I got online, sorry. I like to call, but the Municipal Citywide Clean Up is the 62nd one that's been held in Anchorage. So it's been around a long time, almost as long as me. It's actually officially starting as of Monday, the 4th. Is that the 4th? Yeah, the 4th be with you. And it's going through the entire month of May until the 31st, because they used to just do that kind of 1 week, but because of the coronavirus and sort of all the precautions for that, they've decided that they want the whole month to do cleanup. If you want to plan it with some workplace, in the past, that was very typical. You would get groups of people at your, great, Kevin's done with the meeting. Your employees would maybe have the after or the morning to do their cleaning around their area or wherever they, you know, were assigned, maybe if they had an Adopt a Road program or something. And then there'd be a luncheon and people would get awards for whatever weird stuff they found. But of course, that's not happening. But you can also now have a free they used to have that first Saturday before Mother's Day as a free day to go to the land transfer or trash transfer here in Midtown, but they're not doing that this year because they don't want cars queued up for half the day and people getting in and out and getting bored. So the only place to drop off any bags that you fill if you do a cleanup is at the municipal site in Eagle River. So there will be no transfer allowances for doing the city cleanup type of stuff. So it's a free disposable coupon though that anyone in their family can get. I think there's one per household. So maybe you can, if you need two, you might figure out a way to get two, but you can go to the email site freedisposable@anchorageak.gov and they will give you either a voucher that you can get transferred to your phone, and when you go to drop off your pile of rubbish in your truck, then you just show your phone, or if you want to get it online and then print it up, you can do that. And you can call this number 343-6262 and ask for how to register to get a free voucher. So they used to send them out, with the property tax type thing to use throughout the year, and I think they're still going to do that.
Can I clarify on that? Sorry, Irene.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so they are still, this is separate from the voucher you get, and it's actually one per household member. So you have to send a request from a different email. But if you are a household member, you can get a coupon. However, and this is some updates, SWS will be taking orange bags all for free if you're cleaning up, not if you're putting your household trash in there, but the cleanup bags for free the whole month of May. So don't leave them on the side of the road. They'll pick them. They'll actually take them for free. Also, Northern Waste, which you might see around. They just moved locations, and the entire month they're collecting. They're accepting bags to their site for totally free of charge. So just FYI that those are some good facts. I also have a bunch of bags, and we'll be happy to hand them out. I have 200 bags, so let me know. Great. So does somebody put the bags at a certain area, a central area, or do people just connect with you and go get them? Yeah, so to get the bags, you can go through the Chamber of Commerce, and there's also like a Facebook link, but you can call the Chamber of Commerce or email them, and they're putting their bag, you tell them how many you want, and if you have a team, and then they'll put the bags outside with a sticky note with your name on the collection day, and you go and pick them up. So that's, the Chamber of Commerce is on 6th Avenue downtown. Or if you want, I got a box of 200, and I'm happy to be a Spenard bag captain. So if you are interested, I live off Arkansas Drive. I'm happy to give you some bags to clean up. I did recently clean up and found a big bag of like 10 needles. So needles are out there, folks. So when you're cleaning up, make sure you have gloves and like a milk jug or something hard-sided. And I will put some links into the chat here because I see Harriet is asking a question, and so that you guys can get information, or you can email me and I can give you that info. Great, thanks, Honey. That's a little bit more detail than I managed to get off the website. So thank you.
Great, thank you. And I saw that Jennifer had her hand up. Do you still want to give an update? Jennifer's iPhone. I believe you're with Blue Market. Are you good? Okay.
Okay, am I unmuted? Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, hi. I just wanted to say hello to everybody. I haven't been to a meeting in a while. I've been pretty busy with Blue Market AK, which is a little brand new business in Spenard on 31st. I'm the co-owner. And we are open. I just wanted to let you all know and to come visit us and spread the word. We're a little mom and mom actually market. And we're getting food in now. So our intention is eventually to be, a full service grocery store, but on a very small scale. And our specialty is we don't have unpackaged. We're all unpackaged, sorry. We don't have plastic packaging, and We have a lot of local Spenard businesses and also Alaskan businesses that we're bringing in. Like we have Ease World Coffee and Uncle Leroy's, and we're bringing Seas of Change fresh greens in twice a week. And I'm really excited about, we live in Spenard and now we work in Spenard, and we'd just be happy to see you all visit us. We're open Wednesday through Saturdays, and our website is pretty complete. We're right now not open for customers to come inside, but you can order our products online and then pick them up curbside at the store. And I just wanted to let you all know that we're alive and well, and you know, managing by jumping through a lot of hoops and doing things differently, but we are open on 31st.
Awesome.
That's it. And if anyone has questions about it, you can reach me at, I'll put my text on a chat, my direct phone number, but the website, bluemarketak.com, and our email you can link to from there, info@bluemarketak.com. We're on it all the time, and we have Facebook and Instagram as well. So anyway, real excited about joining in. We also have, we're looking for a bike rack, someone to help us with a bike rack or bike corral. And we're also looking for someone to help us with some gardening. We have a couple of really nice old bricked in planters. So just wanted to put those out there. Thanks.
Perfect. I'm looking at Tyler to see if he has any of those bike racks. Maybe we'll follow up.
He says he had them, but they're gone. Yeah. I keep getting that answer. Anyway, thank you.
We can keep trying, I think. We have some maybe possibilities, so it'd be good to know what you were looking for, and I'd love to see some custom-made Blue Market bike racks in Spenard for sure.
Oh, I would love that. That would be just awesome.
Jay, he has bike racks.
Yeah, Jenna, I wanted to just let you know that if you're okay with low-tech found objects organic methodology, a few friends and I built the bike racks that are at Charleau out of driftwood and found metal and lots of concrete. So if those appeal to you, let me know and I'll send you the rest of it.
Absolutely. We're all about repurposing, you know, reusing, recycling, everything in our store. I mean, there's very little in there that's brand new. There's one refrigerator that's brand new. Everything else was either built from found materials or repurposed. Yeah, love to talk to you more about that. I've talked to you 3 times about that, Jay. You ready to sink your teeth in?
I want to be the idea person and hand it off to the next generation of doers.
Yeah, I think we have that in common. Thanks.
Great, awesome. Any other announcements folks want to share?
Everyone's frozen. Well, I don't know if you can hear me, but I can't hear any of you. You froze. So
we can hear you.
Okay.
It doesn't look like I'm seeing any hands or any unmuted. Oh wait, Tom and Radhika. Hey.
Yeah, for Tyler, the property at 32nd and Spenard used to be Sicily's Pizza, and now it's a used car lot. It doesn't have a sign up there, but it is. I've called Cora Weaver a number of times because they're parking on the street, they're parking on the sidewalks, they're just everywhere around that building. And Cora doesn't seem to think there's a problem. So maybe you could follow up with her since you might have more clout than I do.
That's generous, Tom, that I have more clout than you. I think that we at some point had a fair amount of spillover onto that lot. We all know that parking is a challenge, especially in that part of Spenard. We know that takes creative solutions. We also know that there's this odd proliferation of used car lots that happen sometimes overnight, and I deal with them among our own, like our Yummy Bakery site even though we have purchased the car lot next to us, has now been overcome by cars that seem to come from out of nowhere. But it's a problem. I think we'll figure it out. I think our issue there was we tried to design parking that was behind the building so there wouldn't be any spillover. It was really clear. But
yeah, yours looks really good, but there's just an eyesore and a mess in front of you.
yeah.
And if other people will call Cora Weaver, maybe instead of just one person calling, if she got a dozen calls, maybe she should actually get off her ass and do something.
Yeah, for what it's worth, we had actually a zoning complaint on our lot because cars were spilled over onto our lot. So then it became our problem. So that's kind of how the complaint system works. And yeah, I get it. It's frustrating. I'm with you.
Yep.
Great. Radhika had an announcement to share, and then Peggy and Bob.
Yeah, thank you. So I work at the Anchorage Community Land Trust, and one of the programs we run is a Set Up Shop program for small businesses. So this summer, we actually want to do a business training class entirely focused on Spenard. So what we're going to do is throughout the month of July, offer really targeted help to 8 to 10 Spenard businesses, just mostly to help with COVID recovery. And we really want to sit down with them and provide some one-on-one help with things like getting their business online, e-commerce, marketing, getting their books in order. So we're going to open up applications for that at the end of May, but I just wanted to put that out there right now so you can start thinking about which businesses in your community you really want to, go out there and help us reach out to, because it should be about 10 hours of free services, essentially, in addition to, a couple of hours of instruction a week. So I think it's going to be a good thing for neighborhood businesses. It's our first time doing a class that's entirely focused on the neighborhood, but because Spenard has so many established businesses and, of course, so many hospitality industry businesses, we thought this was a good place to start. So we would love to work with you guys to think about the businesses that could most use that help, getting online, having like a little bit of extra individualized attention. So I'll be back in June with the actual application. We can work on getting your businesses in there. Thank you, guys.
Perfect. Thank you. Super exciting. Bob and Peggy, you're muted, but we're still muted.
I brought it up at the executive committee meeting, and it wasn't on the agenda, but Lindsay, I'm hoping that we can have Chugach come in and do a presentation on why they are not undergrounding the electrical lines that they're required to do, that they're collecting monies for. I found an MLP document that has a 5-year plan, and they even named the streets that they're going to do it. I haven't been able to find anything like that for Chugach, but I'm sure a lot of you people that live in Spenard are pretty dismayed at all the trees that were taken down, and it wasn't even the sickly spruce. Unfortunately, they were taking down very healthy young trees to keep them away from the lines. It was really distressing to see. So I'd like an explanation on why they're still doing this when they have promises for years that they were going to underground.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Anything else for the group to share? I'm just thinking about how we are all socially distant, so are all willing to go longer for our community council meeting. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Perfect. All right. Thank you all for calling in, for participating, for doing so much good in our community, even while we're all socially distant. We'll probably have another Zoom community council meeting in June, and then are off for July and August. So looking forward to seeing you all next month.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Okay, thanks.
Bye. Thanks
Bye,
a lot.
everybody. Great meeting.
You're gonna end the meeting? Okay, here. Hang on a sec. We're gonna wait till just a second till more people end because I'm recording it because I'm the host. And so I want to make sure we get everybody. Okay, now you can end it.